Kanto Origins, a little passion project I started a couple months ago and kind of just left alone. But you guys really wanted me to get back into it and wrap up this series I started way back when. But for those of you who don't know what the heck I'm even talking about, Kanto Origins is a look at the Kanto region before the events of Red and Blue by about 30-ish years or so. A lot of new characters, some familiar faces, and a whole lot of nostalgic fun. Now there are already 2 other videos in the series where I present the idea and also introduce all the related gym leaders and Elite Four. But for this video, I'm going to walk you through the story, changes I think should go in effect since the last 2 videos, and somewhat of a blueprint in case an ambitious developer out there decides to turn this into a fan game. Now with all that being said, I don't have any plans of making this into a fan game, but if someone else wants to take it in and run with it, by all means, don't let me stop you. The following is really just going to be my creative thoughts on how I would picture this as a game, and some of you might like it and some of you might not. Either way, it's just me sharing a bit of my creativity, so go easy on me. And with that, let's start off with some changes I've decided to make to the overall idea. Starting with your starter Pokemon, which are now going to be a starter quartet instead of a trio. I really liked this idea when it was suggested to me, so I think this would be a really cool change up for this imaginary game. As for the Pokedex for this game, again, you guys had some really great ideas, and I think this is what I'm thinking. The original 149 Pokemon, excluding Mewtwo and Mew for obvious reasons, but also including every Kanto Pokemon's pre-Evo and evolution, even though they might be found in other regions. Instead, let's make these Pokemon with non-Kantonian evolutions a bit more rare. This means Pokemon like Eevee and even Magnemite would be a bit more rare in the region. Speaking of region, I really want to explore the idea of regional variants that existed in Kanto's past that might not exist anymore, or maybe they migrated somewhere else. For example, we have this regional Scraggy and Scrafty line by the amazing artist Horatio Arcus. Their links will be in the comments down below. It's an electric type, and the idea is that other regional native Pokemon would have a Kantonian version. Nothing too crazy, but maybe like 5 or 6 variant lines. What do you guys think? Now that we got that out of the way, let's tackle the story. You start off in Cerulean City where you meet the young Sam Oak and Professor Maple, Bill's grandfather. Sam encourages you to take on the gym challenge while the professor encourages you to help him understand the unique evolution method known as the starters. They're all Pokemon that require trait evolutions. Side missions would include you evolving Kanto Pokemon into non-Kantonian evolutions, for example Eevee to Leafeon, then showing the professor to get further perks like charms and whatnot. But that's pretty much it from the starting town. No rival for this game, instead it's all about your own personal journey and exploration of the original Kanto region. After that, you make your way to the first gym located in Lavender Town, where the gym leader is nowhere to be found. Instead, you hear that he's at the top of the tower, so you make your way to the top floor and find out that it's a much younger Mr. Fuji. After chatting with him, he opens up his gym and then you can challenge him. Now, I'm not going to go over what the gym leader's teams are and whatnot because I already dedicated an entire video to that, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already. Alright? Okay, awesome. Now you've got your first badge, so it's time to head towards Saffron City to face a much younger Bruno for our second badge. But once we get there, we notice a huge protest outside of a newly established Silphco. This is also the first instance where you as the player get to interact with the evil team for this game, except it's not really much of an evil team. Instead, it's more like a group of protesters. What are they protesting? Well, the autonomy of Pokemon. So they aren't against trainers owning Pokemon, however they are against corporations exploiting Pokemon for their gain and capital. And I think we could all agree we might be too if this was real. And the Silphco has just come out with a revolutionary Pokeball that harnesses the energy of all Pokemon it catches and in return converts it into energy for the entire region. Now, as you can imagine, politicians are loving this because 1, it means more money and growth for Kanto, and 2, it'll give them a leg up against their neighboring enemy turned friend, the Johto region. Oh yeah, maybe that's the war Lieutenant Surge is always talking about. Ooh, quick sidebar, but these events take place right before the war, and for this story, we'll just say Johto was being run by a very vicious and cruel ruler, but in the end he was defeated and stability was brought to both regions. Okay, back to the protesters and many Kantonian civilians. They don't agree with exploiting their Pokemon and believe that Pokemon should have rights and a choice in the matter, not just blindly forced, captured, or not. So if a Pokemon wants to help out, they can. They should have the choice to, and if they don't want to help out, then they shouldn't. Which is kind of funny considering these trainers make their Pokemon fight to the brink of death, but alas, who am I to judge? This is the conflict of the the story, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. And if you have cooler suggestions, by all means share them in the comments down below. But for the premise of Kanto Origins, Silphco is bad, and the evil team is a group of protesters. After checking out the protest, the much younger Bruno chats you up, telling you what's going on, and you tell him that you're taking on the gym challenge. He then invites you back to his dojo where you can challenge him and gain your second badge. After the gym battle, you see the protesters talk about another protest happening in Celadon City, which just so happens to be your next gym. When you get there, you see that this city, Celadon, is way more built than any other town or city in the region, and that's because it's run by the brilliant Elijah, the city's gym leader, Kanto's lead constructional developer, and Erica's father. He's also currently working on Kanto's next biggest project, and that's the cycling road connecting Celadon City to Fuchsia. As you make your way to the gym, one of his aides tells Elijah that a group of protesters broke into their cycling road construction site and they're running amok. He asks you for your help, and you head west to find these protesters. Through battling them one by one and defeating all of them, Elijah then explains that he isn't exploiting Pokemon for his construction needs, and instead is building the cycling road with his very own ground types and Pokemon he trusts and loves. The protesters then feel pretty stupid and apologize, and all is right with the world, or at least Celadon City. After that fiasco, he thanks you and takes you up on your gym challenge where you gain your third badge. And since the cycling road isn't constructed yet, you have to then travel the long way to Fuchsia City, your next gym. Along the way, you pass through Vermilion City, and you decide to stop by the gym there, but you notice there's a sign at the door that says the gym leader is out catching waves. So you just continue onward to Fuchsia. Once you get there, you stumble onto some pretty big family drama. The gym leader Yukiko, aka Koga's mother, has just defeated her 99th challenger, and she vows to defeat 100 in a row to prove to her father, the clan leader, that she's ready to take on the mantle as clan leader herself, gym leader, and also mother. But before she can take on the next challenge, her father tells her to check out the Safari Zone as there seems to be a bit of conflict. You follow her and find a Silphco admin and Grunt capturing a ton of wild Pokemon with their brand new innovative Pokeball, and Yukiko tells him to stop and release them. But of course the admin refuses and instead challenges Yukiko and the player to a double battle. After you both successfully defeat the admin, Yukiko tells her father, but he seems pretty unimpressed. That's when you come to Yukiko's defense and explain that just because she's a mother doesn't mean she's not capable of being a clan leader and protecting Fuchsia City. Her father doesn't say much and instead asks Yukiko, "Oh, I thought you had your 100th challenge to get to." Oh, hey, that's you. So you guys just head back to the gym, but unfortunately for her, you beat her and ruin her streak and gain your next badge. But in the end, she didn't even care, and she decides that she doesn't care what her father says, and instead is going to do what's best for the clan and Fuchsia City, even without the title. And that's when her father decides to dub her the brand new clan leader, talking about how a leader is a leader regardless of titles. This one is probably one of my most favorite side stories in Kanto Origins. It just adds a little more context to Koga and Fuchsia City as a whole, really. But after you get your fourth badge, you get to make your way back to Vermilion City, where you find the gym leader Corlin, aka Misty's father, and he's finally ready to take on challengers, mainly so he can get back to catching some waves. He also specializes in water-type Pokemon. But not to worry, because you beat him and gain your 5th gym badge, and now it's time to hop on the original SSN and ferry your way to Cinnabar Island, where you get to meet a much younger Blaine, a renowned scientist, gym leader, and Mr. Fuji's best friend. Now, before challenging him, he asks you to help him out with some research. I don't know what the research is. I'm open to ideas on what that might be, so let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, after you do help him out, then you could take him on in a battle, beat him and gain your 6th badge, and now it's time to backtrack to Cerulean City, where it might be time to evolve your starter. Professor Maple calls you back because he's found a rare new Pokemon called Eevee, and also has a theory on how your starter can evolve. Because remember, again, you still don't have a fully evolved Pokemon yet. So instead, he trades you his Eevee for your starter. Just then, your starter jumps out, sad at the thought of leaving you. But then Professor Maple assures them that it's only for a short while and just for a quick experiment. Once you also assure your starter, it then agrees, and the trade happens without any problems. Your starter then evolves, and Professor Maple gives it back to you and also allows you to keep the Eevee as well as a gift. This helps him tremendously with his research, and he thanks you for it. Now it's time for you to do one of two things. You can either head to Pewter City and challenge the 7th gym leader, or you can head to the south of Rocky Tunnel and confront the protesters and Silphco grunts. Either way, you'll need to complete both these events before challenging the final gym leader. Let's just say you take on the 7th gym leader first, Brick, aka Brock's sharp-looking grandfather, then make your way to the field under Rocky Tunnel. There you find the Silphco admins and grunts fighting a bunch of protesters and their leader, a young woman with a very commanding presence. There they're fighting and you try to stop them, yada yada yada, things are getting out of hand, and just then the president of Silphco, you know that guy that gives you a Master Ball? Yeah, him. A much younger version of him arrives and learns that his admins and workers may be actually in the wrong. He then decides to hear from the protesters and agrees that Pokemon should have the right to help humans, but should not be forced by any means, and instead vows to turn this land where this epic brawl took place into the region's power plant and will make it home to Pokemon that choose to help charge the region. Hey, look at us foreshadowing the creation of the power plant. Now, I'm pretty sure that's not what happened, but you know, we're going with it. After that, you make your way to Viridian City, home to the final gym leader, who turns out to be the same young woman who was the leader of the protesters. Oh, and she's also Giovanni's mom, Sophia, and her background is that she escaped Johto and the clutches of its tyrant ruler a few years ago and now lives in Kanto, where she is currently raising her son. But that's pretty much it. You beat her, get all gym badges, and then take on the Elite Four and hopefully get crowned as the Indigo champion. Now, this is obviously a more story-driven game, as it honestly should be, since we're taking a unique look at the Kanto region before the events of Red and Blue. And if you guys like me just storytelling a what-if scenario that never took place, then I might even continue it with Johto and look at the events that led up to the war. But you guys let me know in the comments down below. Maybe if we hit 2,000 likes on this video, then I'll continue it as a series. Possibly even throw in some sad storyline on how Giovanni's mom, Sophia, went back to save her relatives, but then didn't make it back to her son Gio after the war, which could also contribute to his upbringing and how he turned into the mastermind he eventually became. Ooh, I'm on fire. But that's pretty much it. Any developers want to make this into a game, you're more than welcome. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to check out my other creative videos here on the channel. You won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Check out this video next, and see you soon. Bye.